Joining us now, Republican Congressman Doug Collins. In Congress, you're pushing for a constitutional amendment that would fix the number of Supreme Court justices at 9. It doesn't have a chance, does it?
Well, neither does the real issue here that we're talking about in the midst of an election of packing the court when the president's doing what his constitutional role says he can do, and that is nominate someone, and the Senate can actually act upon it. It's really interesting to me that just now I just heard Joe Biden say that the president was talking about distractions of packing the court. No, that's from Democrats acting about packing the court and term limits. What my amendment would actually say is look, let's take this issue of packing the court off the table as far as from an emotional issue. Let's put in a constitutional amendment that says that any change to the court, which Congress can do, raising or lowering, that it take place 10 years after the fact. So you're not simply reacting to whatever you don't like. But the baseline of this, John, is really simple. When Democrats don't get their way, they want to change the rules. We've seen it for the last 2 years in impeachment and investigations and in running the House. They just simply want to change the rules.
But with Nancy Pelosi as Speaker of the House and requiring a 2/3 vote in the House and the Senate to get a constitutional amendment, not to say anything about the votes of the states, it seems like a pretty long shot.
Well, sometimes you have to look at it and you have to call the Democrats out for what they're doing. And again, when you understand this amendment, they say, let's take this out. If you truly want to deal with the court and you truly want to deal with it in a sensible way, then deal with it in a bipartisan way. Deal with it in a way in which both sides could say, okay, over a 10-year period, if that's what you really want to do, then let's deal with it. The problem is I'm calling out their hypocrisy on this issue and saying that you're just simply mad because Donald Trump's going to get to pick a third conservative justice to put on the Supreme Court. You're mad because you don't have any way to stop it because in 2016, your candidate Hillary Clinton ran a terrible race, but not as bad as Joe Biden's running this year, and they're just mad about it. So we're just simply saying, look, you want to actually have a discussion about the court? Fine. Don't do it in an emotional reaction against this president.
I want to point you to the results of a Washington Post ABC poll about who voters think should choose the next Supreme Court justice. 38% of those responding said that justice should be nominated by the sitting president. 57% say the winner of the election. How do you respond?
Well, I think they're going to get to see a constitutional reaction here from a president who's doing his job. And then on November 3rd, then those same people who responded to this poll can vote. And if they don't want the person that the president's picked, then they're probably going to vote against the president anyway. But on November 3rd, they're going to have a chance to actually decide the results of this pick and how they will get confirmed. That's the way this process works as we go forward. So, I mean, again, for me, they have every opportunity here. If they don't like the pick, then they can, as Joe Biden says, or anybody else, turn out to vote. I believe the folks are going to turn out for President Trump because he actually did put out a list. He actually did say what he wanted in a Supreme Court justice, and I believe that's one of the main reasons he got elected in 2016.
I want to play for you something that the senator from your neighboring state, Doug Jones, a Democrat, said about his intentions on this matter. Listen.
I regret that I will not support the confirmation of any Supreme Court justice nominee, regardless of who it might be, before the outcome of the November 3rd election has been determined.
He is one of many Democrats and two Republicans who have said they're not willing to vote, don't want to vote before the election. Your thoughts, your response?
My thoughts is great. I appreciate Mr. Jones saying that, but I also look forward to Tommy Tuberville being the new senator from Alabama. And I think this just confirms that what will happen in Alabama in another month in this election is they'll send a conservative Republican back to the United States Senate and not a placeholder Democrat that they've had for the last little bit. And I like that if he don't want to do his job, then, if that's what he wants to do is vote no. Great. He's got an election to win as well. But when we actually look at this, it's about actually the president doing his job, confirming somebody or putting forward somebody such as Amy Coney Barrett, which is an outstanding pick, someone, a lady who is not only put forth her faith, but her family with her adoptions and looking at how she has held those values and she performs them, or he can vote against her, and if he chooses to do that, then so be it.
All right, I was going to ask you about Judge Barrett, but you sort of answered the question. Real quickly, Democrats have suggested that they'd like to limit the terms of Supreme Court justices to 18 years. What do you think about that prospect?
I bet they didn't want to limit Ruth Bader Ginsburg to 20 to 18 years after she served 27. I bet they didn't want to limit any of theirs that Justice that Obama put onto the court. Again, this is a very emotional, hyper-partisan reaction to the fact that they lost an election 4 years ago and that President Trump gets to do his constitutional job. This is simply trying to distract the American people away from the fact that President Trump is doing his job. And frankly, I think trying to prop up a terrible candidate right now in Joe Biden who won't answer any questions. I'm just beginning to wonder, are there not enough cue cards in the basement in Delaware for him to answer questions about what he actually wants to do for our country?
Congressman Doug Collins of Georgia, thank you.
Thanks, John.